Hello, everyone. You are more than welcome to our first webinar of 2020. Today's topic will be Agile Certifications, New Year, New Opportunities. My name is Suzanne. I will be your host today. I'm joined by my colleagues Daniel, who is joining us from the United States, and Giuseppe, who is joining us from Sweden. In the background, we also have Lauren, who will be interacting with you on chat. She won't have her camera on, but she will be there to answer some questions in there. There's Lauren. She's joining us from South Africa. So just some housekeeping very quickly before I turn you over to our hosts, Daniel and Giuseppe. If you are writing to us in the chat, please do select the option that panelists and attendees can see what you are writing there. That way we can all interact together. But if you have questions about the topic that we are speaking about, Agile Certifications, you can pop them into the Q&A section and we'll get to as many of those as we can. But I'm going to pass you over to Daniel first, if you would be so kind as to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. My name's Daniel Lynn. I'm a coach and trainer with Agile 42. Have been for, it's about 7 years now. And yeah, it's awesome to have you all here. Thank you for joining. Excited to talk about this.
Thank you, Daniel. And Giuseppe, the same.
Hi, I'm Giuseppe De Simone. I'm an Italian living in Stockholm, Sweden, up north. And I'm a certified Scrum trainer and Agile coach. And I'm really happy to have the chance to speak to you about some of the stuff that I'm passionate about.
Thank you both so much. So the first thing I think would be interesting for us to understand is our participants. So we're going to put up a poll question we'd really like for you to answer, which would let us know what's your experience with Scrum so that we can tailor what we're talking about to that. So I'm going to launch the poll and give you all a few moments to answer those questions. And then we'll jump right into our topic for today. Okay, so far it's looking like we have a lot of newbies, so new people to Scrum and Agile, some people who have done CSM, CSPO, and some other certifications. Interesting. This will definitely help us with the way that we approach our questions and what questions we will expect from you. So while I will leave the poll open just for another few minutes, but while people are still voting, I'm going to start off with our first question, which I will give to both of you, but Giuseppe, maybe you can start for us. How did you end up being a coach or a trainer?
I mean, my story is a bit long and articulated. I mean, I have a technical background. I have a master in electronic engineering, but I would say that, already since the beginning of my career, I started probably very soon to become more interested in how people collaborate together more than how systems collaborate together to create a good product and product the customer love. And therefore, I tried already to use facilitation skills somehow, probably instinctively when collaborating with others. And then when I get acquainted with Scrum the first time, and then learned about the Scrum Master job, and then I found maybe that's something that is very useful or can allow me to join two passions, like the passion from technology and the passion for people. And then I started practicing being a Scrum Master. And I would say that I, had my first CSM class in 2009. And then I practice. And that's what allowed me to become better in what I did. And by practicing, I kind of get in touch with more with Scrum Alliance and certification, and therefore, I use this to help me in validating what I learn and to help me conceptualize my experience, because that's how I learn, and that's how people, I think, learn most, not only by experience, but reflecting and conceptualizing their experience. And then I became a CSP in 2012, I think, and then a certified enterprise coach in 2014, and that's where I really this changed my whole experience. And then I said maybe I want to become more as a trainer, and then I started my my journey to become a certified Scrum trainer, which I achieved in 2018, 19, I think. Yeah, and that's where I am now, right?
Thank you, Giuseppe. Daniel, same question to you. How did you end up becoming a coach and trainer?
Yeah, so I actually started as a software engineer, and I remember one day my boss came in and said, "Great news, we're all going to practice Scrum." And we Googled Scrum, and we got pictures of rugby, and we were all really, really confused, but kind of excited. And so that's kind of where I started, was that engineering side of things, using Scrum, and I had some great first experiences with it. We were able to build some incredible products with Scrum, and I loved it. I loved that experience, and I just wanted to share that with other people. So over the course of maybe 5 or 6 years, my focus shifted from building products inside of Scrum to helping other people build products inside of Scrum, and eventually it became pretty much my whole job, and I switched over to that becoming becoming everything I did. It was around that time I left that company and started doing some independent work, and eventually connected with Agile 42, which was an opportunity for me to just focus completely on that. And over the past 7 years, certifications that we'll talk about got peppered in there. But ultimately, that experience with engineering and then connecting to Agile 42 is what led me to focusing full time on coaching and training.
Thank you both so much. So I see from our poll a very slight majority of people are complete newbies. So Giuseppe, I'm going to point this question at you. If you could talk us through what the path to CSP is, so that's the Certified Scrum Professional.
Yeah, actually, I mean, in a few words, I think it's a coherent program that can allow someone who doesn't have any knowledge about Scrum to get some mastery in some of the most important, jobs in a Scrum team, being a Scrum Master, product owner, or a developer. I have prepared some visualization that I can probably show that probably help me to explain what it is. So the path to CSP is whatever is in this like square. So you have 3 different paths, one for Scrum Masters, one for product owners, and one for developers. If we focus on Scrum Master, just to make an example, we start from the basic certification which is a CSM, and this can be achieved by, at least what we offer now is to have it. This is the stuff for my screen. Do you see because I have the poll on my screen, so if you can remove it, Suzanne, if you can close it, then maybe.
Yeah, I can close this now. It's not showing up on the overall screen, so you're all good.
But I have it like showing on my screen, so I'm not sure what's the problem here. So let me stop sharing and maybe close this first, and then I'm gonna share again. Sorry for the. Okay, so I say like the basic certification, the Certified Scrum Master, which we offer and we can achieve with some e-learning preparation, homework, and then 2 days class. And then when you get 1 year experience as a Scrum Master, then you have you do another workshop of 2 days plus some e-learning and homework, then you can get the advanced CSM certification. And then when you have 2 years experience plus some additional e-learning and some additional class, like 2 + 2 days plus homework assignment. So it's becoming more and more like serious. The more we move farther, then you can achieve this Certified Scrum Professional Scrum Master, which is a sort of recognizing that you have experience, you have certain skills and certain knowledge that has been validated by peers and by a coach, and then probably you can have a good impact as a Scrum Master in your organization. And I want to stress the fact that I mean, like when you reach a CSPSM, then you are a good enough proficient Scrum Master, because many people believe that if you have a CSM, then it's just 2 days class and then you go. I used to say that, the CSM certification is like the preliminary driving license you normally get when you know the theory, which allows you to practice driving, but it doesn't teach you, doesn't say that, when you got the CSM or when you got this preliminary driving license, you can drive, but you will become a proficient driver where you get more skill and where you get more practice. And that's the same approach with this path. And it's similar for the product owner and similar for developers. So depending on what you're most passionate about, or depending what's your role in your organization, these are three options for you to really becoming better at what you do. And the certification as such has no value, but what I think this path can teach you, it's skills, it's practice, but also the right job ethics, because it requires ethics and right behaviors that are aligned with Scrum value to do this job in a professional way. You see, there are more stuff on the right. I don't want to talk about this now, but maybe we can come back to this later. Hope I answered your question, Suzanne.
I think so. You see, you've just walked us through the path. So the next logical question I would ask, I'll point this one at Daniel, is how these certifications would help in someone's job.
Yeah. So when you're taking these classes, as Giuseppe showed on that, on that diagram, right? You may start with a 2-day class like the Certified Scrum Master or Certified Scrum Product Owner, and that's going to give you some base knowledge around Scrum. If anyone has ever tried to learn about Scrum through Google, there's a lot of information out there, and some of it's contradictory, some of it's wrong. It can be really, really confusing. And so that's the nice thing about that starting certification is it's a really clear, this is what Scrum is, this is how it's meant to work, this is how other people apply it inside of their companies, and it's going to give you some nice, clear answers to start with. And then it's going to say, great, now go use this in your job for a little bit. And then if you come back to one of those later classes, like the Advanced Certified Scrum Master class, you're going to build on that experience. You're going to bring your experiences from your work back into that class, and then and then the class layers in on top of that. So the goal of these classes in your job is definitely, with all of the classes, to give you concrete techniques and skills that you're going to be able to directly apply, with your teams. Just to point out too, right, one of the reasons that there's Certified Scrum Master, Certified Scrum Product Owner, and Certified Scrum Developer is because depending on your role inside of the Scrum team, the best skills for you day to day might be a little different. And so it's meant to cater to those differences.
So that actually does lead me to a question, Daniel. If somebody was to approach you and say, which one should I take? Where should I start? How would you help them in that way?
Yeah. So I think, right, that's a conversation. What is it you're passionate about? Is there something that you're already expected to do inside of your job? Actually, Scrum Alliance's website has a quiz, which certification is better for me? And they ask things about what you're excited about, what you like to do day to day. Do you like to focus more on helping the team succeed? Do you like to focus more on representing customer needs? Or do you like to build the product? And that's the exact same kind of conversation that I would have with someone who asked me that question, to see which of these is going to take me the right direction. That said, none of them are going to be bad, especially those introductory level classes. Let's say we have tons of developers come in and take a Certified Scrum Master class to get a solid baseline understanding of what is Scrum, right? So they're all really good classes, and they're all going to provide a really useful foundation. If you're unsure, don't worry, you're not going to make a bad choice.
Yeah, maybe I can add a couple of things also, giving an idea about what's the subject that are covered in the different paths. Like, just make an example that some of the subject that are covered in the CSM path is like coaching or facilitation or leadership, or something in the CSPSM. We talk about how to design and conduct a good training and how to inject change in the organization. So these are, if you're passionate about this kind of stuff, then maybe the Scrum Master path is what works for you. But like on the product owner side, we might talk about like creating and crafting a good product vision, collaborating with stakeholders, creating a coherent product strategy, manage the backlog, and so on. And I want also to reinforce what Daniel was saying, that, like also learning something that is not strictly connected to your job is also beneficial. For instance, I can imagine that it could benefit someone to be a good Scrum Master to run at least a CSPO class, because your role is also to teach and coach a product owner to be a product owner, and it's definitely beneficial to learn some of the skills that a good product owner, should master, right?
So Giuseppe, you have mentioned a good product owner, a good Scrum Master, but how long do you think it takes to become good at this?
Yeah, you used to say that, for instance, it's the same as how long does it take to become agile, right? So if you are really agile, you're never agile enough, because it's all about continuous improvement. So the same probably, it's how does it take to become a good professional? Maybe you all know this 10,000 hours rule as becoming really proficient, but I would say that in our experience, with our CSP graduates, for instance, we know that the guys that have like 2-3 years experience in the job, like actual experience in the job, that has followed the path and really be serious about practice and doing the assignment, and be serious in implementing the feedback review by the trainer, they can go a long way, right? So I would say that with 3 hours experience and following the path, you can become pretty proficient. And then this is a starting point again, and we can also cover that what's beyond CSP, because that's some additional stuff that can help you growing further. Not to mention, that the path to CSP is the only unique things that you need to do to become really good. For instance, I would encourage all people that want to be a serious Scrum Master to get some additional coaching education. For instance, when I was a Scrum Master, I took like a neuroscience-based coaching program, so to really upskill my coaching education. And even now, I'm still taking coaching classes. Recently I finished an ORSC program, like Organizational Relations System Coaching. That is something that are like outside the Agile space, but these are all skills that are helping you to build muscles and get enough tool in your toolbox that you can use in the complex situation you're going to meet every day.
Thank you. And we have a question here in our Q&A section. I'm just going to lengthen it out a little bit. I hope the writer doesn't mind me doing so. Alongside the CSP path, Daniel, what other certifications would you recommend?
Yeah, so and I see like in the Q&A, there are some things around this too. When you're going through this path, you can imagine that this provides kind of a trunk of learning. So when I see, Scrum Masters, product owners, developers, trying to build out these skills, a lot of times the path to CSP is the core of that learning. But then they branch out into other things that may be certifications. So my cat wants to have a certification too. You're going to say hi. So for example, there are other certifications out there, like IC Agile has certifications around facilitation and coaching. It also has facilitations about applying Agile in HR, applying Agile in marketing. There are scaling frameworks like Less and Safe. Don't worry, like I know there were a bunch of people in Newbie, and if all these words are Greek to you, it's fine. What I'm trying to share here is there's a lot of different facets that might be different in this person's job versus this person's job. And there are a lot of complementary things too. So for example, if you're a product owner, as you're going through this path, there are a lot of things about product ownership that you might want to know about that have nothing to do strictly with Agile. There are business topics. There's things like lean startup. So there's tons and tons and tons of learning. And one of the things, if I'm talking to someone one-on-one, that I like to do is say, imagine you're in a job interview with 10 other product owners. they all have the same certification. Maybe they're all like ACSPO or they're all CSPPO. What sets you apart? What are the things you're passionate about and have put time and energy into developing outside of just this line that's going to set you apart from all the rest of those people? Pursue those things, right? Because that's where you're going to get excited to put your energy.
Makes sense. Giuseppe, we have a question here also from our attendees asking, when would you know if you're ready to take an advanced level course? If you could maybe also explain for us a little bit about the ACSM, ACSPO as well, would be great.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the criteria are pretty, like the official criteria are pretty objective, right? So you have to have a, let's take ACSM, for instance, advanced CSM. You need to have CSM certificate and you need 1 year experience at least as a Scrum Master. That's, you know, the objective minimum requirement for you to get an advanced CSM certification. Ideally, you can do an advanced CSM class even without having the 1 year experience and get 1 year experience later, and then you get the certification, even though I would recommend against this practice, because, you know, the 1 year experience is there because you should have get enough practice to get some kind of meaningful interaction in the workshop, in the class, and then to have enough muscles or enough skills and tools to do the assignment, the homework assignments that are requested to you to complete. So that's what I can say. I also want to make a comment about, you know, because I realized that both me and Daniel started mentioning a lot of topics, I don't want to feel that, you know, kind of can be too overwhelming for someone that has not even started. So I would just to say that anyway, any big journey that for me has taken, you know, over 10 years, right, starts from a small step. And definitely, you know, this basic classes like CSM or CSPO is definitely a small step that anyone can take, because it doesn't require anything for you to take a class. And that's kind of a good way, not so expensive in terms of time and money investment, to get acquainted to this and really test yourself. Is this something that I want to pursue or not? Or is this like Scrum something that I can offer to my company? Or maybe I know that in other departments in my company they use Scrum. Is it something that we can do in our department as well, or so? So this is kind of pretty small step that you can always take, like, and then start from there. Like, don't feel too much overwhelmed by me and Daniel passionately talk about all these things and passion and acronyms and so on.
Please just tell us if you're tripping over any of the acronyms. We'd be happy to let you know what they are and share our website as well. There's really good explanations there. But Giuseppe, what you said actually did make me think of a question. If a company doesn't practice all of Scrum, how can you bridge the theory? I'm going to point that at you, Daniel. So how can you bridge if your company doesn't practice all of Scrum with the knowledge that you do gain from these classes?
Yeah, so I guess, so there's two parts to this. You know, one, in the classes, one of the things you'll hear is Scrum's a framework, right? And a lot of pieces are built on each other. And so that situation comes up a lot. And it's a real challenge that people face, right? Because this practice works when you have this practice, and this practice in place, that when companies are kind of doing bits and pieces, that can be a really, really big challenge for people. That said, the most success that I had as a team member in Scrum was the first company that I worked for, and we got all the principles right and most of the practices wrong. We made a ton of mistakes, but we had a huge amount of success. So don't get down on a company that doesn't kind of have it all correct yet. So the nice thing about this class and trainers, you know, like Giuseppe, you know, like myself, other trainers at Agile 42, we are in companies helping them through this journey every day. We don't just do the training. We also do a lot of transformational coaching. And that means we have a lot of experience to bring in. We've seen a lot of different things, ways that companies have made things work. How do I apply this in this situation where these extra constraints are on me? And so when you go and you take this class, I think it's a really important thing. In the end, a CSM is a CSM is a CSM is a CSM, right? The actual piece of paper is exactly the same no matter what. But what you get in that class may be very different. And one of the things we try to put in that class is time to talk about, those topics, talk about, hey, so what happens, Scrum says to do this, but we haven't put that in place yet. How do I bridge that gap? How do I make the best of it? Right. And that's a place where, hey, we're happy to have that conversation with you, right? We know you can't necessarily go in and change everything about your organizational structure tomorrow because you took the CSM class, and we'll help you find some of those paths forward, so you don't have to discover it for yourself.
A very interesting question has come through on our Q&A. Again, I'm just going to word it a little bit differently. I hope the participant doesn't mind. But as an Agile coach with less than 2 years experience, what certification would you recommend in this instance? Giuseppe, I point that one at you.
Yeah, I would say it depends. It's very hard to say from this question about as an Agile coach with less than 2 years, because it depends on what kind of experience do you have, what kind of other education you have. Do you have already any of these certifications? So it might, so if you are an Agile coach has been working and you have not done any of this path, maybe the path to CSPSM is what works best. And if you have already 2 years experience, probably you can do it pretty quickly, and then I'm going to say complete your experience with some formal education and some interaction, because also, one part that is not to be disregarded and usually is the one that people in our classes appreciate most is also the amount of interaction and conversation with people that have similar kind of experience, or they are in a similar place that we are. They have similar challenges. There's a lot that you can learn. So being part of a community or a cohort of people that share your same thing, it's part of the learning, right? And we know that we learn a lot from connection and from collaboration. So this is kind of something that you can use to complete or your kind of practical experience you have. So, without knowing any more details, I would point out to that. And of course, there are the other certification that Lynn mentioned, the IC Agile, ACC, or like the one on facilitation, that are also like valuable piece in the picture. But yeah, if you share with us more details, I'm sure we can give you some more specific guidance. So whoever asked this question, feel free to get in touch with us directly, and we can give you some more specific guidance.
You did also mention the CSP. Someone else has asked, can you talk about after CSPSM, and maybe again give us a little bit of information for those who don't know what CSPSM or PO are? Yeah,
I can show again the visualization I put up before. So you see, after the path to CSP, actually, there are what the Scrum Alliance calls guide level certification, right? And these are there is one that is more focusing on the training, which is called Certified Scrum Trainer. And there are two others that are more focusing on the coaching side. And one is the CTC Certified Team Coach, is more focusing on coaching on the professional coaching teams or multi-team environments. And the Certified Enterprise Coach is more focusing on coaching leadership or organization. And I can tell you these two things require pretty different skills, and can have people can be interested in different things. So all these are kind of considered to be on the same level, and all are kind of, there's no class to achieve those certifications, right? They are all based on reviewing on certain requirements that you have to fulfill. And this is based on an application that is reviewed to validate experience, knowledge, skills, and behaviors, and usually on an interview. And these are paths that, can be, again, certification as such might be less or more valuable, but really the transformative experience about going through this journey that I can witness myself, and Daniel as well, taking the effort to complete this application, to reflect on your experience, and to get in touch with experienced people from the community that will give you valuable feedback and iterate and improve, it has been a tremendous journey for me, and took a lot of effort, but also very, very rewarding. So as I said, there is no class, but since we have a lot of people in our company that have gone through this path, and we know what it takes, like we are offering mentoring programs, but these are going to be like individual programs or in small cohorts for people that really, because this is really an individual journey, right? It's not about you make a class of 16 people and teach the same thing. This all depends on who you are, where you come from, what are your strengths, what are the areas you should improve, and there are areas including like your community engagement, or how you are good at mentoring others, or how much you give back as a volunteer to the community. So these are kind of has a broader meaning. But we do offer mentoring programs. So if you're really interested in this, again, don't hesitate to get in touch with us, and we're gonna assess your specific situation and together decide what's. Of course, these mentoring programs are just a supplement or a help to achieve that. They're not a guarantee that you will get it. But I get a lot from a mentor I got in my path there. So I assume this can be very helpful.
If I can add something in here, I see a lot of questions that are popping up in different places about what about these other certifying bodies? What about this thing? What about that? There's a question about types of coaching, which are important. So for people asking those questions, I want to at least acknowledge for a moment I think the great thing about Agile coaching and training is there are a lot of paths to it. And there are a lot of different options. I've trained with quite a few other trainers. I've coached with dozens of other coaches, and everyone's got their own style and bring their own experience, their own nuance to that profession. And I think that's wonderful. And that only adds and complements to each other. That said, Giuseppe and I, when we were preparing for this, we said, hey, let's put the Scrum Alliance path to CSP and then their, what they call guide level certifications, that certified trainer and certified coaches up there, because everyone who's in that newbie and CSM, CSPO category, right, it provides a nice, clear, something nice and clear for all of them, as opposed to here are the 500 different things you could look at. So I just want to take a moment and acknowledge that, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of paths you can take. We're putting this one up just to give a little bit of clarity for people who are newer to it to grab onto.
Yeah, and I think it's good that we have talked about that, and everything that we are also explaining is explained in detail on our website, and you can contact us through there. So Giuseppe mentioned mentoring programs. If you have specific needs, you just let us know about those and we can assist you further. But one question I did want to bring up, maybe I can point that at you, Giuseppe, is we haven't spoken about leadership roles and what certifications you would recommend for leaders.
Yeah, this is an interesting topic because, since the Scrum Guide doesn't, is agnostic about leaders, right? It seems that, the Scrum team leaving an organization without leaders. Actually, there's not been so much focus on this, but, I think in the last years, we all recognize that, a company cannot embrace agility if it doesn't embrace a different level of leadership, right? And if there is no agility in the leadership as such, right? And therefore there's been a program that I can also show. I have another visualization here. It's just like below here. So let me focus on this one. So, which is called like the Certified Agile Leadership Program. And this is also quite an articulated and coherent program that also has some kind of growing path to train and create leaders that can both make a positive impact as leaders as such, but also support the agile transformation, the journey towards agility of the whole enterprise. Because that's the comment that we've been hearing for years about, this is very good. Like people coming to the CSM saying, this is very good. You should teach it to my manager, right? And of course, whilst, a lot of leaders and managers are coming to our certified Scrum Master, still, there are things outside Scrum, beyond Scrum, that are necessary and essential from a leader that wants to be serious about his personal agility, but also the organizational agility as a whole. So the program is structured as such, like there are three possible options as entry level. So there is either the possibility to do like the CAL Essential and CAL Team. So it's Certified Agile Leadership Essential, which is mostly an introduction to what Agile leadership is and what are the foundation to be a good Agile leader. And then there is this CAL-T, Certified Agile Leadership Team, that is focusing on leaders that want to grow Agile teams, like performing Agile teams, to say it in short. Another option is to have the combination of the CAL Essential, as I described before, plus CAL Organization, Certified Agile Leadership Organization, which is actually focusing on leadership on enterprise level, something like the importance of culture, or like how to nudge change or drive change in a complex environment, or how we can have agile approaches to change, and so on and so forth. And then, or you have the option to have all three, and these are all three entry points. And depending on where you are, of course, like if you do all three, you have a common picture. But I mean, if you are more a senior kind of a leader, I would suggest like CAL-E plus CAL-O. If you're more like a first or second level manager, or even a Scrum Master, maybe the CAL-E plus CAL-T can be useful. Even though like the CAL-O for what we talk about change is also important. And then once you get that, then there's a possibility to do again an individual journey towards some kind of a higher level of proficiency through the Certified Agile Leadership 2 program, which is quite an extensive program, having 1+1+1 days of advanced classes, homework assignment. You need to have some case study in one or more of these topics that you see on the right, like leadership in an agile context, the agile organization, or agile approaches to change. And then you have 1 day peer workshop where you're going to share with each other your homework assignment and get feedback from your peers and get some more learning from others. So that's what Scrum Alliance and what we offer. And this is offered from us based on our own framework that is called Organic Agility. That is definitely something that it's a coherent framework that supports achieving organizational agility, I would say, and leadership agility. So if you're, I'm sure like Suzanne and the others are sending you some reference for you to look into more of this. But that's, in short, one good option to become better agile leader.
Thank you, Giuseppe. Daniel, I'm noticing that we haven't been talking about developers. I'm wondering if you could recommend certifications for developers.
Yeah. So actually, I'm really excited about this. Last year, Scrum Alliance revamped their Certified Scrum Developer program, which is good. So I've always loved the Certified Scrum Developer class. It was actually the first class that I ever took, and at least in the Scrum space. And I think it's great because you're in there, instead of doing a simulation where we do something in sprints to simulate building a product, you actually write code and build a product. And then you get to see how that works in sprints. So I've always loved it, but it was a mess. You had to have a CSM or this other class, and then you layered on this extra class, and then sometimes you'd have to put in a third class. It was a disaster and confusing, and so no one took it. So that's why I'm super, super excited that last year they kind of revamped it to fit with the rest of the certifications. So now the Certified Scrum Developer is a 2-day class. Just like with the others, you're expected to get some experience as a developer on a Scrum team before coming back for the Advanced Certified Scrum Developer class. And it's a really great program now. I will say that what it focuses on is the kind of the kind of techniques people use in building products incrementally. So instead of really big phase gates, hey, I'm going to do all my architecture or design work, and then I'll hand that off to someone else who does all of the building work, and I'll hand that off to someone else who does all of the testing work. And of course, then that just turns in, and then they kick it back to someone else, right? That's the architect's problem now. The classes focus on that sort of thing. So how Scrum's going to ask us to do all of those in 2 weeks. How do I do that? And so we dig into topics like that. We dig into it at kind of a conceptual level with a little bit of example application inside of the CSD, and then we dive into more advanced application in the ACSD. So yeah, I'm very, very excited about those. They're really, really cool, and they're still my favorite class. So every single one of them, we go in, we actually build an application inside of a 2-day class in 1 hour sprints. And once you've built an application in 1 hour sprints, 2-week sprints seem like forever.
Nice. Giuseppe, I'm going to ask you one of the questions here from our attendees. As a coach, what is the best training path, or what path would you recommend to help organizations who are stuck, failed, or are already disillusioned with Agile?
Yeah, I mean, probably there's no training that will teach you that. But I think that you also need to have skills and tools to do that. It's not something that you can improvise. So definitely, depending on where you are, the path to CSP is one option. If on top of that, and besides the things we can offer, for instance, I strongly recommend organizational relationship system coaching, because it gives a set of tools that are kind of very useful when interacting with systems of people. And an organization is a system of people, right? And sometimes you need to do things that are counterintuitive to get a group of people, to unstuck a group of people, right? And so that's something that has been definitely helpful for me. And I would say that also in the organic agility framework, we have a lot of tools that are also because I think a lot of the problem with the agile transformation is that it's the incoherence between what we preach and what we do in companies, right? For instance, incoherence between what leaders say and how they behave, or what people are used to. A concrete example is that I observed many times that you come from a traditional organization, people are used to be told what to do, and then one day the CEO says, now we're going Agile, we're going Scrum, and then the day after, all managers are going to their people and say, hey guys, from now on you are self-organized, you're self-managing, right? And they look at each other and say, what does it mean? What are we supposed to do? Just tell us what to do. So no, I cannot tell you what to do. You are self-organized. So how do you deal with this kind of stuff? People get stuck in their thinking, and on one side, we want them to change their approach. On the other side, they're not ready to do that. So what are the tools and the approaches that you use to solve this kind of problem? This is something that maybe there is a lot of interesting stuff in organic agility to help that. So from this perspective, maybe the CAL program is also something helpful.
Thank you, Giuseppe. Daniel, a question here again from the Q&A, not a certification about certifications, but interesting nonetheless. How do you feel about wearing multiple hats in a role?
So you mean I guess I'm gonna ask you like you can read their mind. I'm gonna assume you mean like being the Scrum Master and the product owner, or maybe I'm a developer, but I'm also on the team, but I'm also supposed to be a personnel manager or what have you. And it's hard, and I sympathize with anyone who has to do it, right? So this gets into the point about I realize there are constraints. Sometimes it's well, Scrum says not to do that, but my paycheck says I have to. So here's the thing that makes it tough, is a lot of times those different hats ask you to focus in different areas, ask you to value different things. And sometimes those conflict with each other, you know. So for example, maybe I'm a developer on the team and I'm focused on what's the right way to build this product. But I'm also the Scrum Master, and I'm supposed to not think about how to build the product and leave that to the team to self-organize around. And it's just a tough situation to be in because I'm supposed to actually have two minds at the same time. So the recommendation I usually give people is be clear what hat you're wearing. Even for your own sake and your own sanity, be clear what hat you're wearing at a given time so you don't have to be in conflict with yourself. And a really wonderful way to get yourself out of this situation, let's say it's exactly that situation, and Giuseppe is on another team and also in the exact same situation. Well, one of the things that we might decide to do is, can I be the Scrum Master for his team, and can he be the Scrum Master for my team? Now I know that when I'm with my team, I'm a developer. I'm focused on development tasks. I'm focused on how am I going to build this product. When I'm with his team, I'm the Scrum Master. I'm focused on helping coach that team to better performance. And then I never have to worry about which hat I'm wearing because I know which one it is depending on my circumstance.
Thank you, Daniel. Giuseppe, I'll point this question at you. For ACSM, is it mandatory to have specific Scrum Master experience, or is it good enough if you have experience working in any Agile role?
Yeah, this is actually something that mostly Scrum Alliance check and validate. But I would say that you need to show that you have some experience that is connected to the Scrum Master, profession in a way, right? So maybe even if you have not been really specific as a Scrum Master, but maybe you have been like coaching a team or doing something that is connecting. Maybe that's good enough. I want to say 2 words in addition to this, that anyway you can do the training anyway. You might have to accumulate some additional experience, formal experience, to get the certification, and we can help you with that. Or anyway, if you have any doubt, feel free to contact us with your specific case and we can give you some additional guidance. But I mean, the short answer is it's not strictly necessary to have been like former Scrum Master for 1 year. There is some maneuver there. Talking about experience, I saw there was also some question about, okay, but company wants to have experience how do we start to have a Scrum Master? Because I don't have experience, and people want the experience to hire me as a Scrum Master, and you want the experience to be an ACSM, etc. Right? Something that I found useful for myself, and what I did when I worked in a company when I started, maybe whenever it's possible, maybe try to see if there are opportunities for you to volunteer to be a Scrum Master, right? Maybe volunteer to be a Scrum Master for another department, part-time for another department, like you have your full-time job and maybe you do something for another department, or maybe you are part of some kind of non-profit association, like promote Scrum to them and work as a Scrum Master there. These are excellent small steps you can do. Like, of course, it requires some investment of time, but to get the amount of experience that can get you out of this deadlock, like this catch-22, in order to start, they want experience. If they don't have experience, unless you find some good company that can hire you for potential, for the potential of Scrum Master, but not because of experience, because that's what we also should start doing now, right? So, maybe you could get a try. It helped me. It might help you as well.
And I think that's easier, by the way, now that everyone is so used to being remote. It used to be what's going on around you, right? I'm in one of those markets in Denver. You can't walk down the street without tripping over a Scrum Master. So we're kind of an Agile hub. And so it's really hard, right? If you just got your CSM and you don't have experience, you're going into job interviews competing with 8 other people with 5-6 years experience. Then you were limited. Everyone wanted in person. Now you have the entire world to look at, as far as what's your passion that there might be a nonprofit that needs some help, with their team. So everyone's used to remote now, and that makes it a lot easier.
Keeping an eye on the time also, we are coming up towards the end, but I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions. So one I have here is, I have an Agile Analysis certification. What other certifications are you aware of for those in a business analyst role in Scrum? I point that to either of you, whoever is most comfortable to answer.
Yeah, I mean, there's no business analyst role in Scrum, but business analysis is a super important skill for Scrum teams. So depending on different organization, then we have seen, like, of course, like some business analysis skill might be important for a product owner, and that can be like a path if you can grow in how to manage a product, or if you can get enough authority in your organization to manage a product, maybe that could be a path. Or if you being a business analyst is something that you want to do every single day, and maybe you can do some coding or testing. Usually business analysts are also good at testing. Then maybe being a developer inside the Scrum team is also an option. Then maybe the CSD part can be something for you. So I would say that depending on where do you want your role to move on, that's two possible options. Because actually the common mistake that organizations do is to make a direct mapping between roles in traditional organization and roles in Scrum, and that's impossible, because Scrum is made on a totally different paradigm. So whatever job in Scrum in a Scrum team you want to do, and depending on where you come from, there are probably like skills that you can reuse and strengths that you can leverage on, and there for sure there will be skills that you need to unlearn and things that you need to learn, whatever you come from, whatever you want to do. So make an assessment about yourself. What are your strengths, and what would you like to do in the path? And possibly, if you come from business analysis, maybe moving towards being a product owner or developer, Scrum developer can be two possible options. Or you do like me, you change completely. I was also a business analyst, and you become a coach and Scrum master.
You can also do it this way. This is perfect. Someone in our question and answer box is asking about a PMI ACP cert. Do either of you have opinions on this one?
I actually know some of the people who originally worked on developing it, and it was everything I know about it was that it was a really solid base of knowledge. Especially, it was originally developed for people who are already in the PMI world to get some real knowledge around what Scrum is, and how it works. So especially if you're in that world already and you want to know and you have access to that kind of learning, you could do a lot worse. So I think that I don't keep up on PMI a lot, but the last knowledge I have would be it's kind of it terminates there, right? So it's not meant to be a learning path. I think it's one of the things that groups like Scrum Alliance and IC Agile offer, is that it's a learning journey that's meant to here, let me give you a little bit to start. You apply some of that. Now let's give a little bit more, and it layers in. And it allows you over the years to just continue building your skills. And that at least wasn't the original purpose with PMI ACP. It was meant to say, hey, you're a project manager, you're already in our ecosystem. Let us give you a really solid grounding of knowledge when people start talking about Agile. And it did that job well, but it wasn't designed to set you up on a learning journey. That's the distinction I would make. So.
Yeah, and again, whatever certification, we're talking about mainly Scrum Alliance, because that's an organization we are connected to. But I mean, whatever certification you're talking about, is it PMI, is it Scrum.org, is it just like getting the badge and learning some theory will not take you anywhere. And it's mostly dangerous. I mean, people who have a badge but don't have practice, just have the theory, don't go anywhere. They can be more harmful than harmless. So, but I mean, whatever certification you're taking that is connected to, skills and practice and validate the experience and the continuous journey and the right mindset and ethics, that's probably going to be good for you, whatever brand badge you choose.
And if anyone feels like they're not sure which path is right for them, these are perfect reasons to get in contact with us in the offices, and we can help you look at the different paths. I'm sure there's even trainings that we haven't mentioned that maybe some of you had questions about, but we are coming up. We just have 5 minutes left. And I think Lauren has shared our website, all of our social medias would be great. And just to let you know, we will put the recording up on the webinar section of our website. But last thoughts to you guys. I know we've talked through CSM, ACSM, all of the different types of trainings. What would you say to someone as your parting words about these certifications? Why do you think they're good to have?
So I guess I can tackle that first. And I see a lot of questions about things like, should I renew this certification? Should I pursue this? And the best advice I can give is the certification is an outward acknowledgement that you've gained some knowledge, that you've gained some practice, that you've gained some experience. I often recommend people when they're planning out their learning journey, don't plan it out around certifications, right? Those are just kind of, they're mile markers. So that's the big thing that I'd focus on. What is it you want to learn? How do you want to grow in your career? And then once you have that mapped out, then it's important to be able to show, hey, look, I have this, and this organization over here confirms that I have this knowledge and skill. Great. Figure out your learning journey, figure out your growth path first, and then see what certifications align nicely with that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And like I said, if you're not sure what path is right for you, those are reasons to get in touch with us. Or we also have an amazing Agile 42 community, which is a great place to connect with other people on the same journey, the same path. They might be new, they might be more experienced. Giuseppe, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, regarding this subject, I mean, I totally subscribe what Daniel said. Regarding this subject of renewal, I want to point out to two things. First of all, the renewal is not just about like the money. It's not about renewal fee. It's also about like proving that you have continued learning, right? And that's, I think, it's the biggest value. So that's also what I like about, Scrum Alliance certification, that it's not about you need to put some money, that until CSP, SMR, it's pretty low money, but you have to show that you continue learning. So you have to provide this Scrum education unit, which I think are a good nudge to motivate people to learn, right? But if you're not motivated to do that, if you don't want to do that, if you just want the badge for vanity, that's just not having it. It's even better. And then, there was a question about like the fee for the guide level, like CEC and CTC and CST. And of course, these are pretty high fees. So of course, these are certification for those that they want to make really like a living out being a training or a coach. They really want to make them their full-time job. And then, of course, like, besides the path to get there, you need to, there has to be like a return on investment from you also on that perspective. But anyway, like the real costly is the CST. The other are a little bit less expensive. And I've afforded be a CEC for years that I was a full-time employee in a company. So I was not really, I was full-time coach in a company, but I didn't make an individual business out of it. Like the CST is pretty expensive. So really like if you want to be a trainer, that's something that makes sense for you. But I want to stress again, like the continuous learning and the validated experience is what's the most valuable thing. If you are not willing to take that, willing to invest that time and energy in that, don't do it. It's going to be like more harmful for you and the community than not.
Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have today. So thank you so much to Giuseppe and Daniel for leading us through those questions and answering all of that. So for anyone who's a participant, we'll be sharing our webinar on the website, so you'll see it there. Please click around. There's a lot of information for you to see there. don't hesitate to get in contact with our office. That's office@agile42.com. We can put you in contact with the right office from there, and you can ask us any questions that you have. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.